Hi friends, this is Lori Magnuson at Stamp Sunshine, and I'm going to be demonstrating this really cute card for you today, made with the basket of blooms and some dies from some other sets, and I will explain that as we go along. The inside of the card says happy little bit late birthday, and I'm tickled that Stampin' Up! Put out a belated birthday sentiment because you don't see that very often. And that sentiment is from the Happiest of Birthdays stamp set. Okay? All right, so let's get started on this card. The first thing I did was take a sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock in Soft Suede, and I cut it at 5.5, scored it at 4 1/4. Okay. Now, before I started putting the card together, I just wanted to mention the way that I did this background here was by stamping off. So I'll just give you a quick sample of that. Part of it is full strength and part of it is stamped off once. So using the stamp from the stamp set Tasteful Touches, I chose this stamp here, and I'll just ink that up with Soft Suede ink, and I'll just show you an example of stamping at full strength right here. Nice. And then normally, if you're stamping off, you're going to just come over, stamp off one time, and you're going to go ahead and lay down your image. It's going to be much lighter than the full strength image, okay? All right, so that's what I basically did over the whole entire front of the card. I also like doing a little bit on the back so that it's not so plain. So the next thing I did was I took this layer of Bumblebee, and this is one of the new in colors, and I really adore it. Such a rich color of yellow. Anyway, what I did was I used the dies that are scalloped and stitched from this the set Stitched So Sweetly dies, and I did the Bumblebee one in the second to the smallest one, and then I used the largest one for another part of this card, which I'll show you in a second. So the next step then is going to be to take off the dimensionals, of course, and then we're going to lay that layer over here to the right hand side, and just equal amount of distance on all these three sides here, and lay that down, and then you can see the dimension that adding those dimensionals adds to that card. So the next step was I took a piece of Whisper White cardstock, and I used this die on it to cut it out, and it's the largest die in the Stitch So Sweetly dies. After I cut it out, I took Pool Party ink and a sponge brayer, and I just sponged the side of this cardstock just to give it a little color interest. So I'm going to take that now, and I'm just going to put the dimensionals over on the far left side, because you'll see in a second that this is going to be laying over the top of this, and it already has dimension. So unless you want to put double dimensionals here in order to pop it up again, it wouldn't be even. So I'm going to go ahead and lay this down. Even though I need to put some ribbon around here, I'll still be able to manage my ribbon because I'll wait to glue it down until the very end. So I think that looks pretty good. And I'll go ahead and stick this down on the left side, leaving this side open so that I can then tie my ribbon. And I'm going to go ahead and do that a little bit later. And I want to go ahead and put together these basket of blooms. And I want to tell you first, what I did in order to get these. So the Basket of Blooms stamp set is this one. It doesn't come with any dies, but it has all of these stamps. And today I'm featuring this basket over here on the side. And what I did was I stamped it onto a piece of crumb cake. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to fussy cut that out as quick as I can. And once you get this all the way cut out, and it just really takes a second, you don't really need die cuts for something this simple anyway, but you're going to take it and you're going to start layering. The one thing about fussy cutting that a lot of people don't know is that if you move your left hand instead of your right hand, you're going to be able to manipulate that a little bit easier, or whichever hand isn't holding the scissors, I should say, because a lot of people are ambidextrous, or they cut with their left hand instead of their right like I do. All right, so I just want to get that little corner in. Now, the way that I got this curved look on the front of the basket is I took my bone folder and I just gave this a couple of swipes with it. And what that does is it gives it a little curve. And once I put my dimensionals on the back, that's going to set up on the front of this basket, and it's actually going to look like the basket is curved. So once we do that, we'll go ahead and finish assembling the rest of the basket. So first I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put 2 dimensionals together because I want this to really stand out. And so I'm going to use 2, one on top of each other, right in the center of the basket. And I'm going to decide where I want that. I think that that's going to look pretty good right there. Now, see how it just looks a little bit rounded? I think that's really cute. All right, so the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to start assembling my flower. And I have already cut out all of these dies, and I used the dies from the Forever Ferns stamp and die set because I really wanted to be able to die cut these. And then the flowers that I used are from, because I was doing a lot of these cards for a class and I wanted to be able to get through those quickly. And then the flowers, you can punch those out with a coordinating small bloom punch. It goes together with this Basket of Blooms stamp set. All right, so I'm just going to adhere all of these one at a time, just using standard glue. Doesn't take anything special. And I'm just going to dot, not a lot, of glue on these pieces, just enough to hold this down. Okay, I think that's good. And I'm going to slide that down under here until I get it to where I want it. I think I'm going to have to slide it on this side. There we go. Because my dimensional was in the way. And if your dimensional is in the way, you may need to cut off a little bit at the bottom of that. All right, but I'm happy with that. That looks good. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to use this piece from the Forever Ferns die cut, dies, I should say. And this is done in garden green. The piece that I just adhered is Pear Pizzazz. So I just selected several different colors of greenery, or different colors of green to create my greenery. And actually, now that I'm using this, I'm realizing that this actually might do better with a dimensional on the back instead of the glue. So keeping in mind where you're going to be putting your greenery, you might rather you have used a dimensional on the back of that. I'm just going to go ahead and tuck that under using my Take Your Pick tool and just see if I can tuck that under, because I feel like I want to secure that stem, or I mean the basket handle as well, besides the greenery. Yeah, I think that worked well. All right, it's a process, right? All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bone folder, and I'm just again going to curve the edges of these little flowers. Just going to give them a little quick curve. And then in the middle, I'm just going to create a center. Kind of pressed it down in the middle. I don't know what difference that makes. Probably not a whole lot. I think those would look cute with some sparkly centers, or maybe some gold centers. I chose not to do it on this particular card, but they're just sort of screaming for something to go in the middle of those flowers. So I hope you'll be creative and do something in the centers. All right, so what I'm going to do with those is I'm just going to put some mini dimensionals on those. All right, on the backs, because I want to pop those flowers up just a little. You don't have to pop all 3 of them up. Just pop up 2 if you want, or just pop up 1, but I chose to pop up all 3 of them. And so let's see what they look like. Okay, I think I want one here. And this would be cute in a number of different colors. I was just kind of feeling like fall was slow coming this year. It's been so hot here. And so for some reason, I kind of chose a card that just had a little bit more of a fall feel to it. All right, and then I think I just like that one right there. Now we're going to take the remaining 3 little twigs, sprigs, what have you, and I'm just going to put glue on those, and I'm just going to add them throughout. Now I want you to pay attention whenever you use die cuts. You have 2 sides, and the back side does look different than the front side, and that's going to be difficult to tell here. But this is the back side, and it kind of has a dull, blunt edge, whereas the front edge has a little bit of dimension as well as almost a curved edge. So whenever you use die cutting, die cuts, I should say, on your projects, then just take a look at them and make sure that you're putting them onto your card right side up. I'm sure it doesn't make a huge difference, but that's always you know, a small tip that you might care about. I'm just going to put this one over the top of that flower, and then same here, just put a couple of little dots on the back with any type of wet glue. I think I'm going to put this one over here, and then the last one I'll just tuck in also, and I think I want that one over on this other side over here. I do not like this guy on top of that. I think I want him under, looking like he's coming out from underneath. All right, so there's your basic flower basket with curved edges, which I think is cute. The next step is going to be then just to tie your ribbon over on the side. You can use regular twine if you like, but I chose to use this ribbon. It is the braided linen trim. That's a little bit more substantial. Okay. And you're just going to fuss with your bow a little bit until you get it the size that you want it. Trim off the ends. With this ribbon, with this trim, something that you can do if you choose is you can sort of fray the ends and give it just a little bit different look. than if you left the edges of the trim straight. I kind of like that. All right, see how it looks a little frayed on the ends. All right, so that completes the card for you today. Happy little bit late birthday. I hope you liked my card today, and if you'd like to order, please go over to my Facebook page, Stamp Sunshine, and click on the order now, or you can go to my Stampin' Up website at lorimagnuson.stampinup.net. So have a great day and keep stamping and send those cards.